Come join us each week as we dive into topics about the joys and the struggles of motherhood. By no means are we experts. We're practically flying by the seat of our pants, or should I say, mom jeans. On this podcast, you will find a judgment-free zone where we discuss not only the best parts of being a mom, but the not-so-glamorous parts too. You can expect unfiltered, real mom talk, humor, grace, and a sense of sisterhood. What makes our podcast unique is that we understand there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to being a mother. We're not going to pretend that we know everything too, because we definitely don't. We just want a place to share our stories with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood.
Welcome back to Mom Jeans, the podcast. We, this week, are going to cover traveling with our kids since it's summertime, and typically this is a time that you travel with your kids, or you're getting ready to for the holidays, or you're intimidated by it. We are going to kind of go through what we do and how we do it, not saying that we do it right, wrong, or indifferent, but yeah, so I'm looking forward to hearing both of your stories here. So let's start like we usually do with high lows. Danielle, do you want to start with your high lows?
Sure. I'll start with my lows and end with positive. But we ended up back in urgent care for Weston's foot or leg. I don't know which one. So his leg, they said they didn't think it was fractured, but they did think his foot was fractured. So we took him back to orthopedic after they put him in a splint. And they said they didn't see a fracture in his foot either, but he wasn't bearing weight. Like he literally was walking down the hall, fell down, and then wouldn't get back up and bear weight. So that's just been kind of frustrating. It's like they can't see anything, but I know from personal experience, like when you sprain your foot or your ankle, it's like really painful if you move it the wrong way, and you know those muscles take a long time to heal. And I don't know if it's that. So they put him back in a splint, and then I had asked for a boot thinking he could walk better in that, but really he could walk better in the splint. The boot's nice because you can take it on and off for bath time and bedtime. But so that's been really frustrating, just not knowing kind of like what's wrong with him. But today I did take his boot off because it's making his foot look funny and his toes. I know that sounds bad, and he walks fine with a hobble. I mean, he walks like he is favoring it, but he was so happy to be running around. They told me to keep the boot on for 3 weeks, and that's like part of me is like I need to do that, and another part of me he was so happy just to be able to walk, and he was just giggling. So I don't know if I'm adding to the injury, but it's just hard to find the right, I guess, do the right thing. So we're just kind of dealing with that. And then last week we talked about a chemical pregnancy, and that was confirmed. So that was kind of a bummer. But again, I feel like I'm doing a lot better this week, a lot more positive. I don't know. I kind of, again, I Google everything when I shouldn't, but it's just like some people, might grieve longer than others. And I felt like I was sad for a day and then kind of started to move forward. Definitely kind of bummed, but I don't know. It's like, is that normal that I'm not so upset as I was a few days ago? So that's kind of like, again, in my head, like, what's wrong with me? I guess that's kind of how I feel like. And I've just been really tired this week. And again, I don't know if it's my hormones just trying to balance back out, but just like this overwhelming, like, just exhausted, like tired. I've been going to bed super early. Today actually is the first day I've felt really good. So, just hoping to continue that trend. I just feel like I was kind of down and out the last week or so. And I'm trying to think of a positive. I guess that I feel better. That's my positive for the week. So excited for coming up. I have a momcation, I guess, planned at the end of the month. I'm meeting my sister in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach. So, and it's just going to be me. I'm flying there, and Ryan and Weston are going to have a son dad weekend, so that's going to be exciting. I'm definitely like a little guilty of I feel a little guilty about it, but also I think it's really really needed just the way I've been feeling lately. I was even considering like, should I go back to work? That's kind of like where I've been the past few weeks. I just think because a lot has been going on, but I think that's kind of normal being a stay-at-home mom to kind of have those feelings. Like, I think I would be more stressed if I had to work then also deal with a toddler with tantrums. But it's been a little rough. I will be honest, it's been rough, but enjoying the small wins that we get. Like, I love when Weston gives me cuddles and hugs, and that makes up for all the other stuff. So yeah.
Are you still coming to Phoenix?
I'm thinking about coming to Phoenix in October. Yes.
Okay.
Also solo, but it'll be like a Thursday through Sunday.
Nice.
To kind of like get the feel of the area. I'm gonna stay
Right.
with my friend, and so
I couldn't remember when that was
excited about
slated to be. Nice. Well, that'll be great.
Yeah.
To have that trip
Yeah.
with your sister. Myrtle Beach is nice
Yeah,
too.
I'm definitely excited.
I like it there.
I know, I love the beach.
Yeah.
So if I could live, that's why North Carolina's kind of on our. I swear, we're all over the place
Yeah.
with that. Now we're like, oh, North Carolina seems nice. But now my husband's putting in to try to make senior, and if he wants to make senior and then like get senior pay, he'll have to revoke his retirement, like, and then we stay a little longer.
How much
How do you
longer?
feel
that
about
also
that?
might be. I think I'm okay with it. I thought I'd be like, yeah, I'm ready to be done, but I mean, $700 extra a month is kind of nice too.
Yeah.
So, because the pay increase goes up, and then retirement. But yeah, it'd be 18 months to 2 years
Of being
and then we
staying in
definitely would
Montana.
move somewhere new.
Oh.
No, we'd probably move, and then he'd probably could possibly deploy because he hasn't been on a deployment.
Oh wow.
They're usually 6 months to a year, depending.
Oh wow.
So if that's the case, I thought I'd split my time up maybe with his parents in Hawaii and my parents,
Okay.
and then maybe put our stuff in storage if that was the case.
Yeah.
So there's lots of.
When will you
We are
know
living
about
in limbo
that?
right now. I'm not sure. Whenever senior comes out, like they have a list. I think it's usually at the beginning of the year.
Oh, so
Okay.
a couple months.
But yeah,
Wow.
so we'll see.
Wow. That's big.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
big change.
Yeah, that was new. Yeah. Yeah, that just happened this week. So what his supervisor can do is, it's called a strat, I think. I don't even know. I'm really bad with military terms, but basically it's like a push for promotion. It's like this person should promote, and so they kind of like go up to the top of the list kind of thing, and then they're looked at. So
Wow.
he might not make it, or he might. So it just helps for sure. So whatever is supposed to happen will happen. But then if he decides to go ahead and retire, I think he can either put master on but not get the pay, or maybe or senior, I mean, or he doesn't accept it and he just stays. A bunch of military talk.
Wow.
Stays a master.
You'll have to keep us updated on that. That's big.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that'd be interesting to know where you guys would move to.
I know, Germany.
Oh,
That'd be cool. That'd be, what time would I have to wake up to podcast with you?
You'd have to podcast in the morning, probably.
Yeah. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Cool.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks for that. Leah?
Yeah. I think my high for the week was I've been going to the farmer's market, and they have this awesome food truck that I've really been enjoying. And when I find a place where I like food, I tend to not try anything new on the menu, because I absolutely hate, one of my biggest pet peeves in life is paying for food that I don't enjoy. So I went to go get my regular donuts like I always do. And the girl sold me on trying the breakfast tacos, and they were phenomenal and excellent. And it just like made my day. So So that was pretty fun for this weekend. I was pretty stoked about that. So I'm looking forward to going back again on Sunday and then getting the breakfast tacos and the donuts and feeling sick for the rest of the day because I eat way too much.
Worth it.
And I think the low is just, it's been a rough transition for Wes to go back to school this week, on him and then on me, because it sucks dropping him off and him screaming bloody murder. So that's just been kind of a little bit of a drag. And I mean, this is what happens after every long break. So it shouldn't surprise me. And I'm sure it will get better by next week. But it's just not my favorite way to start the day.
Yeah, that's going to be my low as well. We're in the same boat with Hannah. Her drop-offs, because I'm not doing Carline because I'm trying to drop her off earlier, she like will not let me go. And she just screams and latches onto me. And I'm like, man, I feel so terrible leaving, but I know like the teachers are like, you gotta go. Like if you stay, it's going to make it worse. And I'm like, okay, like I literally, she's latching onto me. Like, how do you just be like, here, it's so hard. And then she's been acting out and biting kids and hitting kids and doing all that kind of stuff. And they said, this is very normal for them and it'll get better next week. And I'm like, yeah, but it's really hard going through it right now. Like, I don't enjoy like hearing your kids hurting other kids. I'm like, it's okay. It's like, okay. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Sorry you're going through that too. It's awful.
Yeah. I mean, they talk, I hear them mention like transitions a lot, right? Like they try and do things to make the transitions better. And I was reading a post today that was like how to make the after school transition better. And the first thing it said on there, because like, so dropping him off is really hard. And then after school, tonight he tantrumed for 2.5 hours. Like I'm just, and they said like, have a snack ready right away, immediately. I do that. I show up to school with an extra snack, but that kid eats so much food. And then it was just like let them express themselves. And so I'm like, okay, great. Well, he's been screaming for 2 hours now. And I think I even said on last week's chat, like I was dreading the after, like going back to school and having those afternoon tantrums again. We didn't have them the week that he was sick and then the 2 weeks that school was closed.
Right.
It's just that stimulation, and there's like so much going on. And then they say that home is their safe space. And so they just let it all out as soon as they get home from school. And then after working all day, and the last couple weeks at work have just been complete and utter chaos, to then just come home and try and manage him screaming for 2 hours until he eats dinner and then goes to bed. It's just, I am a tired mama.
I'm sorry, Leah.
I feel you on that. I will say, I don't know, this probably doesn't make it any better, but Weston is also the 2 hours a day tantrums. It's like I'm counting down the minutes that Ryan gets home. And I was like, I need a break. I was like, I need a break. But like, and he doesn't go, like he's with me all day. And then it's usually like the 3 to 2 hours before bedtime, constant whining and like everything. I said I wouldn't do screen time. I put on Miss Rachel just so I can get a moment of silence while I cook dinner, or else he's like at my ankles, like just crying and wants me to pick him up. When I'm picking him up, he like wants down, like. So I feel you on the being tired about the tantrums. And I don't know if that makes any better, like, because he is home all day and he still has those, like, it might just be where they're at developmentally, but I know you said that he doesn't do that when he's home all day, which Weston does. Sometimes I just like going on play dates because he's a totally different child. Like, is quiet, will play with all the toys, and I just get like time to myself just to think and talk to other people. But it's just, I feel you there, like on the being tired. And I feel bad for like getting, like it gets under my skin. I hate to say that, but that's how I've been feeling, like just so overwhelmed and overtired. So I'm sorry that you're dealing with that too. And I know that, you know, with Stephen working a lot, like I can't even imagine how draining that has to be just to do that alone.
I'm very tired.
I'm sorry, Leah.
How was your week, Lisa?
I wish I could give you a hug.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. Like I said, same. You know, it's interesting. My patience has been really bad lately, like really bad. And I feel, like you said, Danielle, feel guilty about having low patience. Usually that's, and not to bash my husband, usually that's his thing, is he gets really impatient. And I had a conversation with him of like, hey, this makes me really, I don't want our girls to be afraid of you. I don't want them to remember you, you know, snapping at them and that kind of stuff. So he's worked really hard on not doing that recently, or like if he's about to do that, he takes a step away and takes a deep breath. And that's awesome because I've needed him recently, because I've been the one who's wanted to do all of that. It's really testing my patience. Like Hannah is testing our patience. Like anytime we say no, she's absolutely going to do it because we said no, you know? And so it's like, I love her to death, but it's hard. It's really hard. So yeah, we are kind of battling through that as well. So like I said, our low is Hannah's also sleeping horribly right now, and we don't know if it's because of everything going on, but like I stayed the entire night in her room last night to try and see if that would do it, and she did better. But then of course my sleep suffers. I wake up and I feel like I'm 80 years old and my back is broken, and she's been all over me and she's comfortable, but I certainly am not. So that's been hard, and we just are at an impasse of what to do. And it's like, you know, like I know we're not the only ones going through this, but I also feel like we're missing something and I cannot figure out what that piece is, and it's really, really challenging. So I just want to know what it is. Like what do we do for her? And it is nice. Like we're at a point where her communication is getting better and better. Like today after school, after I talked to her teacher, and she was like, yeah, she bit 3 kids. And I said, Hannah, what are we doing here? Like, why did you bite them? And she like listed off the names of the kids she bit, which I was like, okay, this is crazy. And then she told me exactly each one of them, why she bit them. And I was like, okay, like at least this is kind of nice. Whereas like back when she was, you know, Weston's age, it's like, you know, you don't know what's going on because they can't communicate, and they're frustrated that they can't communicate. And that's really hard for them. And I feel for them. So, you know, now it's trying to work through that. And I'm just at some point, I'm like, you know, I just need you to tell me why you can't sleep, because let's get it figured out. But, you know, I know what's going to be. It's going to be, I want to sleep with mommy and daddy, and I am just not into that. And that's a battle too. Like I was talking to another parent in Hannah's class, and she's like, oh, you guys are so strong for not letting her sleep in your bed. We just let him sleep in our bed because I don't want to deal with it. And I want to sleep. And I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. So that's hard. But you know how it is. It's like every stage you learn there are things that you'll get through, and you'll feel like they took forever to get through. And then you're like, oh, that actually was like a blip on the radar. So, yeah, speaking, and then the other con is that we had Aubrey's 9-month appointment, and they told us she's behind in 3 different areas, and they're going to refer us to a physical therapist because she is not crawling yet. She's not pulling up on things, and she is not able to sit up on her own. We always put her into that. And like, when they said it to me, I was like, oh, I, of course, got into tears and was like, oh my gosh, like this is bad, right? Like and I started to think about it and was talking to my mom recently, and she's like, could it be the fact that you hold her all the time? You don't give her those opportunities like you did Hannah. And I'm like, absolutely, but I'm not going to stop holding my baby. You know, like she's my last baby. I really enjoy holding her, and I'm having a hard time being like, yeah, I know you should be crawling. You should be doing all these things. So yeah, that was a little hard to hear. And, of course, our doctor takes forever to do referrals. So we haven't heard from the physical therapist yet because I don't think the referral's gone through. But this morning, I walked into her room and I opened the shade and then I walked out to go to the bathroom. She was still in the crib and I got back and she was sitting up on her own. And I was like, whoa, how did you get there? But I have no idea how she got there. So then I was like, did Hannah do that?
Did you go back and look at the camera?
No, because I don't know if it records.
It does.
Does it record?
Yeah, the Nana.
What?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I look at this all the time because we like to, we call it Weston's Around the World because we'll like put him in the bed this way. And then through the night, he like does a full rotation. So if you go to activity and then video history, so like you can see on mine, and it just has like this is all of it. So we just watch. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, you just blew my mind and I'm going to figure it out. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to look at that later, but I'm going to tell Brandon about that so he can watch it. That's awesome. Thank you, Leah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that was a really exciting moment because I was like, okay, one thing, she's doing one thing and Brandon he's working with her now, like trying to get her to like pull herself up on things. And she like doesn't do it unprompted. Like he has to like put his hands out and like prompt her to kind of do it, but she does it. And she gets really excited when she stands up. So I'm hopeful, she's very, very small, which is weird because Hannah was very, very big. So it's like you see those charts and you're like, oh my goodness, like she's so small and that's okay. It's fine. It's whatever. Those numbers are whatever. But, it's almost like I wish she wouldn't give me those numbers. And if you told me there was a concern, just tell me there's a concern. But otherwise, just don't give me the numbers. It's better for my brain not to sit there and compare and be like, oh, well, Hannah was huge and Aubrey's tiny. And what does that mean? And blah, 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 blah. So anyway, yeah, we're working through that. And like I said, small gains. And I know she's going to be okay. Like Brandon keeps saying, she's going to be fine. She's going to be fine. Like, and today at music class, there was a girl, her daughter is 9.5 months, almost 10 months. And she said, oh, I'm starting to get concerned. She's not crawling yet. And I was like, oh, we're not alone. That's nice. But she was army crawling all over the place. Their little girl, coincidentally, her name is Leah. But she was army crawling all over the place and she was cruising. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So, I think it was nice for that mom to hear me say the same thing. Like, hey, we're really behind. And she's like, oh, thank goodness. It's not just us. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're going through it too. So that was a high. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, Wes didn't real crawl until he was 10 months.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but then he went from crawling to walking like that. Like it was like
he was fast in between. Right?
But he only army crawled until January 15th, and then he started to real crawl.
Okay. Okay.
But also, I bet you will see a big difference in Aubrey in the next couple of weeks being at the new school.
That's what my mom was saying. She's like, do you think you'll notice a big difference? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I do. Like, she is one of the older kids in the class for sure, but there is a kid that's crawling a bunch and like moving around a bunch. And I was like, she'll watch that kid and I think it'll make a big difference. And Macy, like Macy is her teacher. I've given her a bunch of stuff and been like, hey, we're working on this stuff. And she's like, great, we'll work on that. And I know like when I go pick her up, she's like, yeah, we were working on that. And it's like, oh, you guys are awesome. You guys are so awesome. Yeah. We're loving that school. I mean, it's been 3 days. Brandon's like, we can't judge it on 3 days. I'm like, I don't care. I'm judging it. It's amazing.
Well,
I'm so happy.
Wes wasn't rolling over at all. And then his first day when he came to this school, he started rolling over and then never stopped. And I was like, see, it's the school. It's the school. We both aren't huge fans of, which I said this to the wrong person at work. I have to be careful that everybody in Flagstaff knows everybody and everybody's connected.
Yeah.
Apparently the owners of the old school daycare are relatives of my coworkers, and I said something to somebody the other day, like, yeah, we didn't really like that school. And she's like, oh, well, they work here. And I was like, great. Glad. I just got to keep my opinions to myself.
Oh, I know.
But yeah, I mean, I was like, and day one, I was like, Steven, this school's the best. He's like, it's been one day. And I was like, yeah, but look at how much his mobility improved in one day.
I know. It's funny. Michelle asked Brandon how he's liking Haven. He's like, it's been 3 days. How can I judge it on 3 days? And I was like, I can. Like, I think it's awesome. But yeah, so that was really good. We also, let's see what else. Oh, so we talked about it last week, but we told Hannah that she can't move up to primary, the older class, until she's potty trained. And so we told her that if she wants to be in Oliver's class, her boyfriend, we call him, he got moved up. He's 3 months older than her. That she's going to need to be potty trained. And it was like a light clicked in her head, and she's been going to the bathroom every single time. Like, all of a sudden she'll just start going and running, and we're like, Hannah, you can't go outside. She'll go potty. And so she'll go sit on the potty, and she'll go potty, and we're like, this is incredible. We're so excited. And I think, Leah, you were the one talking about I don't know if it was your cousin or who, but they couldn't go to Disney without being potty trained or something, or couldn't meet Mickey or something.
My cousin.
And it is like, I was like, there's no way that works. It's been working for us. And I texted Oliver's mom, and I was like, this is amazing. Thank you for the motivation of him. So anyway, yeah, that's been a positive. And then we went camping this past weekend for one night, and like Brandon was dreading it so much because our last experiences with Hannah camping have been horrible. She doesn't sleep. She's up all night. We're up all night. She's crying. It's awful. So I was like mentally preparing. I was like, okay, this is going to be terrible. We're going to be miserable, but I really just want to spend time out in the woods, and we're going to try it. And we ended up with 2 different tents, intentionally to try and keep the girls apart from each other. And it was really funny because Brandon's like, all right, I set up our tent. He was going to sleep with Hannah, and I was going to sleep with Aubrey. And I was like, all right, let's get as far away as we can safely. So I want to say I'm not kidding you, like 100 yards away from them. We were so far away from them, so that, yeah, and it was great. It worked out so fantastic. So like, I put Aubrey down at her normal time in the tent, and she does her normal, like, crying for a little bit, and then she went down, and Brandon kept going to check on her. He's like, did something go eat her? Like, did the dingo eat my baby, kind of thing? And I was like, okay. So he was like hyper vigilant on that. And she did great. She woke up when I got back in the tent after we were done hanging out with Bryce and McKella, and making our s'mores. And she woke up, and she was awake for probably half an hour, just crying on me because she was mad that I woke her up. But after that, she slept all the way through the night. Granted, it was pretty warm. It was almost 60 degrees, which was wonderful. But yeah, I was like, oh, we can camp again. This is so exciting. So hopefully that encourages Brandon to want to keep going, because he does not. He like walks into this like, I don't want to do this until they're 10. I'm like, I'm not camping until they're 10. So anyway, yeah, those were our positives. Lots of highs, which was great. Lots of lows, which is not great, but part of the gig we signed up for, isn't it? So anyway, anything else you guys want to add before we jump into our main topic? Okay, let's do it. Let's jump into our traveling with our kids topic. So let's start with the first trip you took with your kids and what that was like. Like, what was your mindset going into it? Where did you decide to go? How far was it? And, the whole rigmarole with it. Leah, do you want to start?
So I think the first trip we did was camping in Colorado. I don't really consider going down to Phoenix a trip, although I guess it technically is.
Sure.
But so we went down to, I'm pretty sure we went down to Phoenix before we went camping, but we went camping when he was 4 months old, I think it was.
Wow.
And so
that's brave.
We flew from Flagstaff to Phoenix and then Phoenix to Denver and then went camping in basically Kansas. I don't know. It's technically Colorado, but it's not like the beautiful mountains of Colorado that you think of. So we went with my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and their daughter. And I was so scared for the flights. I just never want to be that person who is disruptive to everybody else. And so I was terrified. I was absolutely like so uncomfortable going into these flights, but took tips from other people that I talked to, tips from Dr. Google, feed on takeoff and landing. And when he was, I look back and I'm like, man, I wish we would have done more traveling when he was just a potato, because he was so much easier. And yeah, I mean, like Wes, I think on those first flights, he cried for 5 minutes, maybe 10, and then fell asleep and then woke up. I mean, Flag to Phoenix is like you go up and you go down, and then even Phoenix to Denver is a pretty short flight. So it's not like those were huge, super challenges. But we went to Denver a couple times while he was still, I don't know, how long? I guess baby, I don't know. Are we considering like before 1 year old?
Yeah.
So I say potato stage and then like human stage. So while he was still a potato, we went to Colorado a couple times, did that flight, and those were fine. And then after that, we went to California the beginning of this year. Also, again, a very short, very easy flight. I think for that one, the difficult part for us was entertainment at the airport. Moving sidewalks have been lifesavers for us.
Yes.
Walking the wrong direction. I saw that on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook or something. And I was like, oh, let's try this out. And so before that, the first time that we were flying to California, we went and did that for sure. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, we did take our stroller to California and gate check it, which was also super awesome. Really nice to have that in the airport for a little while. And our stroller's got a nice little undercarry thing. So actually my carry-on bag just like fit under there, so I didn't have to push anything or worry about it. So again, that flight was easy. Our longest flight that we've done was we went to Hawaii a couple months ago. And wait a second, you just asked what the first trip we did was, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's okay.
Well, now I've gone on a tangent, and now you guys can talk the rest of the time. Was Hawaii, and I was super, super nervous about that. When we flew out to California, we got bulkhead seats thinking that was going to be better. And I realized that I hate like not having my stuff right there with me. And so we swore that we were never going to do bulkhead again. And then my dad bought our flights for Hawaii, and he booked bulkhead out to Hawaii. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But Wes wasn't bottle feeding anymore. And I put all the snacks with me. And our bulkhead on the flight out there actually ended up being great, because essentially Wes walked between me and my dad when he was awake on the flight. So we just kind of stick our foot up to block him from going to the aisle, but there was enough room for him to move around in the bulkhead area. So that was actually huge. So if we go to Hawaii again, which hopefully we will, I was really tempted to buy a ticket yesterday because they were buy one, get one free, Danielle, on Alaskan Airlines. We would probably do that again. So that was that bulkhead ended up being, I was all mad at my dad when he booked the flights. I was like, I told you no bulkhead, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I'm sorry, I'll try and change it. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. We'll figure it out. And then when we got there, he's like, So did I do okay? Like, was that okay?
Aw.
And I was like, yes, Dad, I'm sorry. Um, and not to sound, I mean, this is going to just sound bougie. It is what it is. But we flew first class on the way back. And
Nice.
I think we were on Hawaiian. I can't remember if we were on Hawaiian or it had to have been Hawaiian. They have those little pods. And so I just
Nice.
closed the door, and Weston had a ton of room to move around and play. And he slept for 45 minutes on the way there, 45 minutes on the way back, and then just played the whole time. So it wasn't.
Leah, has he always flown lap child? Has he flown in his own seat yet?
Not yet.
Nope. Okay. Not sure, because I know some people even under 2 will buy tickets for their kids. So I just wasn't sure if he's flown in his own seat yet.
No, we've thought about it, but we haven't done, like, aside from Hawaii, we haven't really done long flights. So it's like,
Sure.
okay, California, Colorado, it's like we can wrestle you for 45 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes. And we do plan flights around nap time. 100%.
Smart.
Like, okay, if we're going to get to the airport 2 hours before the flight, nap time needs to be within like the first 30 to 40 minutes of the flight.
Okay.
So that he at least sleeps for a little bit. And it's always worked out scheduling around nap time.
That's a great tip.
So that's something we're very consistent about. So we're booking our flights right now for Thanksgiving to Colorado. And we will be doing the same thing.
Nice. That's really smart. Okay. Awesome. Well, let's jump over to Danielle. Danielle, what was your first trip with Weston, and how did it go?
Well, technically our first trip was camping just about an hour from here, but we have a camper, so it's like our home away from home. So that was easy. And I was like, you know what? This is easy. Like, we should book a trip. And I looked for Hawaii because that's where my in-laws live. And tickets are really cheap in May. So Weston he was 2 months old on the day we traveled. So he just turned 2 months old. And we went to Hawaii. People were like, man, you're so brave. I was like, I cannot stay in this house. Because Great Falls is windy and cold around this time and miserable. I couldn't get out and walk. And like, I was just like, I need to get out of the house. So yeah, and that was a pretty long trip. I think our layover in Seattle, because you have to fly to Seattle from Montana through Alaska. And we were there for about 3 hours before we got on a like 5 to 6 hour flight to Hawaii. But he did a lot better than I ever like imagined. I mean, because he was 2 months old, so he just sleeps and eats and doesn't really need like a whole lot of stimulation. So that went really well. He got his little wings, and everyone was telling me how good he did. It's a different story now, but then it was like, man, this was pretty easy. So that was a lot of fun, and I don't know if I enjoyed Hawaii as much as I did this last time we went for his 1-year-old birthday, just because I was still very postpartum. I was so jet lagged the next day. Like, I was like, wake me up, because I was breastfeeding. I'm like, wake me up because I need to feed him at this time. And then Ryan did try to wake me up. He like shook me and I didn't even wake up. And so he just let me sleep. I slept for 4 hours. And I'm a light sleeper, so for him to like shake me and I didn't wake up, that's how exhausted I was. And he was like, Weston was still sleeping, so I just let you sleep too. And I was all mad. I was like, I have to feed him, but he was fine. And I think I needed the sleep. And even this is how postpartum like mind I was in. Everyone was in the living room 1 second, and then I don't know if I just dazed or whatever, and there was like nobody was there, including Weston. I'm like, where's Weston? Where is he? And Carrie's like, I'm in here, I'm just showing him. Like, she was just showing him stuff in her room, like, because it's like a little condo. And so it was a little stressful. Going to the beach was stressful. I didn't think about getting in the salt water and then him breastfeeding, and he got salt in his eyes or in his mouth, and he was crying. But I would go back. I wouldn't had changed that. I would still go just because it was nice to be in the sun and just to be with family and not be in the chilly state of Montana. But that was me.
That's a good point too, is that, as much as I hear a lot, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but you hear a lot like, your kid's not going to remember these trips. It's like, no, but have you ever heard the saying, happy mom, happy baby? Like, I need my sanity too. And that means getting out of Montana in the middle of the windy season.
And your kid's not going to remember it, but you will. And like, I don't know about you guys, but
absolutely.
The traveling that I have done with Wes has been so much fun. Like, it's nice to have a change of scenery. It's good for our mental well-being. And I think about that all the time. Like, people are like, oh, well, why would you do that? Your kid's not going to remember it. I'm like, because I will.
Yeah. So my first experience traveling was Hannah was 3 months old, and we went out to Florida to see Brandon's grandparents because they were getting older. And we wanted them to meet Hannah and what have you. But I will tell you, like, I think I was kind of, I have a bit of an ego, and I have a bit of a, I can do anything mentality. And so I was like, we're going to do this. And this is going to, and same thing, we did the feed on the way up and down for their ears to make sure their ears don't, pop and then they can't get them unpopped or whatever. That's not the point. So anyway, we got to Florida, and I, in my mind, was like, this is a trip without a kid. Like, we're going to do all the things we want to do. And we were only with his grandparents for, I think it was like 4 days or something like that. And we never made it to the beach, and they were in Naples, and I'm not kidding you. It could have taken us 10 minutes to get to the beach, barely anything. We had a rental car, everything, and we never made it to the beach. And we left that trip, and I was devastated because I want to see the beach. If I'm close to the beach, get me to the beach. I need the water. The water is a very calming thing for me. And from then on, like, I cried to Brandon when we got home and was like, that was not at all what I was expecting. I'm so bummed. I'm so frustrated. And he kind of had that conversation with me of like, Lisa, like, we don't have that freedom to do whatever it is we want to do anymore. We have a child. We need to keep her first priority. She's 3 months old. Like, we'll get back to being able to do these things eventually, but let's appreciate the fact that she's our priority. So I think that kind of hit my mindset of like, I need to change my mindset for all of our future trips and have lower expectations of what's going to happen. So flights wise, she did great. I have this picture, and I think a lot of people would look at this picture and look like it's really creepy, but I think it's the cutest. She was laying across Brandon's lap, and she had her head back, and she was like totally zonked out on the flight. And she looks like a little alien. I love it. I just love that picture. It was my screensaver for the longest time, but she did great. She did so great on those flights. The same thing that Leah said. It was a lot easier when she was potato stage, because it's hard. It's harder now that, when she got mobile and everything like that. So yeah. So I think, that first trip was a great eye opener for me. It was challenging in many ways. And like Leah said, like, game changer for us was having the stroller. Like, the stroller, gate checking that stroller was so necessary for us. It was awesome. Like, if you haven't traveled with your kids before and they have a lap child, you do get one free item that gets to be gate checked. And that can be, I think it's like, don't quote me on this, and it has to do with the airline, but either a stroller, car seat, or I think even a pack and play, something like along those lines. So what we did is we did the stroller with the car seat attachment on it. So we kind of did the 2 for 1, and it was all considered the stroller for them because it was all one part.
Also, so I remember I was like, I know we went on a trip without a stroller and it was miserable. It was when we went to Colorado for Christmas last year. And we didn't take the stroller because we were going to stay with my in-laws, and they had a stroller, and we're like, that's fine. We won't need it. And it was like being in the airport without the stroller was absolutely miserable. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But the other pro tip is that I bought this $15 bag off Amazon that's now survived like 8 flights. So I've gotten my money's worth out of it. But it's a giant stroller bag that I put the stroller in when I gate check it. And you can fit a bunch of other stuff in that bag.
Yes.
Oh,
we have the big car seat bag.
Yeah.
Same thing. And we put in like sleeves of diapers and,
blankets,
and
stuffed
animals,
animals,
yes,
everything.
That's a good hack. That's a good hack. Good one, Leah.
Yeah, we put our hiking backpack into the stroller bag, or sorry, the car seat bag that we check at the counter. And with a bunch, diapers, all the things. So I was like, I asked, I'm like, is this okay? And they're like, if it fits in the bag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I don't even ask anymore, and they don't say anything.
Nope. I second that. We have flown without the stroller, and even if you're not going to need it, it is such a game changer for the airport. So we, on our latest trip, since we have the 2 girls, we didn't want to bring the big stroller to Europe, knowing like we were going to be on cobblestone and bad stuff. So we bought like a cheap like lay down stroller, so one of them could be laying down at a time, and that was good. Wasn't great because only one of them could be in it, but I'm with you on that completely. I would keep going with the stroller as long as you can.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add to that, because I did the big stroller with the car seat the first time that we traveled with him, but after that I got the Metro Compact City Stroller by Ergo Baby.
Okay.
And it also lays flat, and it also has, if you have an infant, like it does a little bassinet thing where it lifts up, or kind of like keeps them enclosed. But I use that for Weston, and it's very small, and technically I think it could fit over, but I just always check it because it is a little bulky. So I gate check it and then get it at the plane. But he's taken mini naps. It helps when those like really long layovers, for sure. The basket isn't as big. That's the only downfall.
Yep, same with our little guy, our little stroller. That was such a bummer. Like I couldn't even get Hannah's backpack in there, and her backpack is like teeny tiny. I was so frustrated. I was like, I missed all that storage. But we took our big stroller to Europe the first time we went, and they are not used to that big of strollers, and they damaged the heck out of it. Like tons of gashes in the like the leather strapping and stuff like that. And we were like, yeah, if you're gonna do that with that big and nice of a stroller, get a stroller bag for sure. I wish we would have done that. So that was a bummer for us for sure. But yeah, so that was our first one. What I guess we can talk about our pros and our cons of traveling with our kids, especially doing it when they're so young. I mean, we addressed this a little bit, but like Leah's heard, I've heard, Danielle's heard, your kids aren't going to remember it. So why do you travel with your kids being as young as you do? What are the pros and cons of it? Leah?
I don't see any cons. It's not easy, but traveling by yourself as a grown adult isn't always easy. Like I don't ever go into traveling expecting it to like be 100% smooth sailing and easy peasy lemon squeezy. I literally like don't see any cons to it. I think for us, it offers us the opportunity to spend more time with family than we would be able to otherwise. None of our family lives here, so we have to travel. And so it's fun. And even if they don't remember it, we remember it. Our family that gets to spend time with Wes remembers it. We get some great photos out of it. And I think it's fun. I wish we would have taken advantage of it more when he was a baked potato. Like, just so much easier than a Tyrannosaurus Rex. But you know what? The other thing that I did for Hawaii that I have no shame about. Weston's been teething, right? They teeth like from basically 6 months old until they're 5. From what I understand. And on our trip to Hawaii, I have this essential oils teething relief. And there's a daytime version and a nighttime version. And on the way to Hawaii, I gave him the nighttime version. And it didn't make him sleep any longer, but it did chill him out. It did mellow him out. And so I think I did that both the way there and the way back. And he was like the most chill that he's ever been. So I don't know. I think our next flight will either be to California or to Colorado again. So again, neither one of them are super long, but as you know, he's catapulting himself off the top of couches now. We'll see how it goes as him as a lap child. But I really don't. Personally, I haven't experienced any cons of traveling with him.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like the pros outweigh the cons. I mean, we've had blowouts, we've had fussy baby, we've had all the things, unsolicited advice or looks like, you know, when he is crying. But I mean, it's a free country. We deserve to travel. Was it, who said it last week that somebody had a quote? It was really good.
You're entitled to a child-free life, but not a child-free world.
Yeah. So yeah, go with that mindset. I know we'll talk about rude people here in a little bit, but it's just, I went in knowing that he might be a fussy baby, and you know, it is what it is. Like, you can't change it. And even though the flight might be long or it might be hard, wherever you're going, like, you know, you're going to feel so much better after, whether you're with family or just on a vacation. So I feel like definitely the like pros. And then also they're going to grow up learning they don't remember it now, but they're going to learn to appreciate like traveling and visiting places and just from having those memories. Because when I was a child, we went to Myrtle Beach every single year. We didn't get on a plane. We didn't travel. We didn't go to all these really cool places. And so I hope like Weston has a different experience. I got to experience that more in my late teens, early 20s, and now. And so I feel like Weston has traveled more places than I ever have before I was the age of 20. So I just hope he grows up with that sense of adventure. And so.
Absolutely. I like that a lot. I think I agree with you, Danielle. I didn't grow up traveling much. Like, if we traveled, it was for my brother's hockey tournaments, and we were going to Detroit. And no knock on Detroit, because my husband is from that area, but
but it's Detroit.
It isn't exactly. It's Detroit, and you know, or like Toronto, or you know, and they were great places. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like the cultural experiences that were different than mine, or any of that. So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you guys. Like, and I'll say this in this, you know, I played golf today. And I was talking to a few of the ladies that I was playing with, and they're like, "That is so awesome that you get out and you do something for yourself," you know, and it's very important to do that, to keep your sanity and to keep being the best mom that you can be based on being happy. And that's the huge pros for me for traveling and putting up with some of the challenges that you come with. And I agree with you guys. Like, as much as you can say cons, I wouldn't call them cons, right? Like, they're challenging, but they're something that's necessary, right? Like, yes, it's hard. It can be hard. It can be hard traveling when you have a crying, screaming baby, and that's not fun. But then when you get to the location, it's like you almost forget it, right? Like, it's like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favorite, and I can think about it. If somebody were to ask me, "Hey, how were the flights?" I'd be like, "Oh, not the best," but it was such a short period of time, like, whatever. So the pros are definitely my sanity, my happiness. My kids see me happy. They're happy if I'm smiling, you know. For the most part, you know, they still have their tantrums and cry and scream and do their thing, but they get to see new experiences too. And like, I can remember the first time Hannah saw the ocean, and she was like giggling when the waves would come up, and you would just be like, "Oh, my heart." Like, it's such a weird concept to her because we don't live around that, but it was such a cool. And that was one of the things I said at the baby shower that was thrown for me for Hannah, was like, it was so, I've always wanted to experience things for the first time again with them. So for her to see a bunch of the things that she got to experience on our travels has been incredible and totally the best for me. So those are huge pros, I think, of that. So yeah. So anyway, let's see. Where have you, we've talked a little bit, Leah, you've traveled to Colorado, California, Kansas-ish, Hawaii, is there anything anywhere else in there that you guys have? I'm trying to think of where, did you go to Mexico with Weston yet or no?
No, we haven't gone to Mexico yet. We
Okay.
were gonna go in November, but it looks like we're gonna go to California instead.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know. Danielle put this on your agenda for the end of July next year, but we were talking about like, let's do a group trip to a resort
Yep.
that has a kids club when school is closed next summer for 2 weeks.
Yes.
So
Let's do it.
Yes.
Does Beaches do that?
some of them do. Trust me, I did a deep dive because that's what we were supposed to do for our trip in November. I did a deep dive into all of these resorts in Mexico. Lisa, yes, I know there's at least one or two in Hawaii. I mean, I'm biased. I want to go to the Disney resort if we're going to do that. But
In.
but yeah,
Signed up.
there's a ton of places, because that's kind of how we grew up traveling. Was we did timeshare a lot, and all of
Really?
my dad has like
Cool.
6 or 7 timeshares, and a lot of those places all had like kids clubs and stuff. So we always had a great time because there was activities and crafts and games and things of that sorts to keep us entertained. And my parents would just pass us off. So outside of timeshare travel, Disney World, and our beach house in Michigan, we didn't go anywhere else. So I don't feel like I experienced a lot of travel growing up either, like you guys. But I am I know it's weird because timeshares are like so sketchy for most people, but my dad's had some really, really nice timeshares, and I'm a huge fan of them. I love having a full kitchen. I love having activities to do, and I love being right on the beach. So if you get the right ones, they're pretty good. But yeah, so that was a total tangent. But yeah, Danielle, mark your calendars. End of next July.
Yep.
We're gonna send all
I'll be
the
there.
kids.
Yes.
Do you guys do cruises?
We'll
Are
be
you
there.
guys fans of cruises?
We've done one cruise. I just feel like after COVID, cruises kind of freak me out because like people got stuck on a boat. And then also the one cruise I did have a really bad sinus infection when I came back.
Oh.
But it was really fun because I mean, you don't have, it's like a moving hotel. You don't have to go anywhere until you get to where you're going, basically. So
I think I've
we could do it again.
only been on one cruise, and I was in, I want to say 6th or 7th grade, and I went with my friend's family. And exactly like you said, Leah, they would just pass us off into the kids area, and we had a blast. I also think I consumed about 30 hot dogs in 5 days because the free food, I was like, give me all the hot dogs and chocolate, and I can eat this at 2 a.m. This is incredible. I loved it. So yeah, that was really cool. I would definitely be down to do a cruise again. So yeah. So Danielle, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say I've never done a cruise, and I don't know if I've shared it or not before, but I have like the worst case of motion sickness of anyone you've ever met.
Oh no.
And my husband took me on a boat the day that he was proposing to me, and I spent the whole day puking my brains out. So I'm terrified to be stuck on a boat. But it sounds like a good, easy family thing to do, right? Like I've never desired. I've had literally less than 0 desire to go on a cruise my entire life because of my motion sickness, and because I'm just like, if I'm going to go travel somewhere, I really want to experience it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like starting to think like, it sounds like a good, easy, could be fun thing to do with Tyrannosaurus Rex toddlers running around.
I will say I feel like the pools were
Mm.
always crowded. I don't think we swam a lot in the pools. It is a lot of
Yeah.
people in one place, but it was fun. There's definitely pros and cons to it. I would rather go to resort because we went to Sandals for our honeymoon, and it was really nice. And so if beaches or something like that is like very similar with the kids, I'd be down.
I don't think I've ever been to an
But
all-inclusive.
yeah, it was fun, and it was our honeymoon, so we splurged and
Nice.
got a butler, and we had this old
Ooh.
Nokia phone, and we just called him like our drug dealer to bring us some pina coladas,
That's
some mojitos,
amazing. Where did you
or
go?
empanadas.
Was that in Mexico?
Sandals in Jamaica.
Oh,
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
But they have them all over,
Yeah.
in like the Caribbean area. But yeah, we were in Negril.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah,
never done
it
an
was fun.
all-inclusive until Stephen and I got married, and we did Sandals for our honeymoon as well.
Nice.
And now I'm also a big fan of all-inclusives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sound awesome.
And they're pretty nice and easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Danielle, where have you traveled with Weston?
So we've been to Hawaii twice. We've been to California. We've been to Flagstaff. So we drove to Flagstaff. That was very unfortunate. We drove through Idaho and Utah, and we stopped in Utah. And I will tell you this story just so people know. Make sure you stop more than you just stop at least every 2 hours, and to make sure your car seat is. We had this new car seat, and I didn't recline it far enough, so he was kind of like maybe sitting up too much. And when I got him out, his head was like down, and he wasn't lifting it up. But he was like, he could sit up at this point. And when we went to Flagstaff, he started to crawl. But it's like his neck muscle was tired, and I felt bad. I'm like, do we have to take him to the hospital? He's not lifting his neck. But he was still happy. But he was sitting there with his head on the bed.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, I've broke our child. But he was okay. We massaged it a little, and he was fine. He could lift it the next day. So we took more breaks the next day, but it took us forever. It was just too much of driving.
Mm.
My husband was camping and hunting, so we brought our camper. I should have just flown. It was too much. And then we've been to Virginia a couple times because that's where I'm from and my family lives. And we just recently went to Maryland for my cousin's retirement, and then also Virginia. And I mean, we've been to North Carolina just because my hometown is on the border of North Carolina. So we've just driven across. And that's about it. We are going to Banff, Canada,
Yeah.
and Calgary, Canada next month with my in-laws.
Nice.
They're coming out. And so Weston has his baby passport. And so it'll be his first time international. So that's going to be fun. That's about a 5-hour drive.
That
from
all
where I
it
live.
is?
So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
Oh my gosh,
envious.
I
Brandon and I
Yes.
went there on a trip without kids. When Hannah, I don't know how old she was, 10 months maybe, no, 14 months, something like that. Such a beautiful place. Such a beautiful
that's
place.
cool. Send me the to-do list.
Yeah, well, we
But,
went in the
we're
winter,
excited.
so it was a little bit different, but yeah. Oh, that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
I'm envious.
Yeah, we're excited. So we have our Airbnb booked, and my in-laws are very excited. I'm like, bring your passport.
That's
So,
awesome.
How cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, so we've been super fortunate and have traveled a good amount. My in-laws have I don't know if I would call it a timeshare, but it's kind of a timeshare in Jackson, Wyoming. So we go skiing there every winter, that was Aubrey's first flight, and she did great too. And again, super privileged. My father-in-law has really good benefits with Delta and got us upgraded to first class. And I was like, oh gosh, that makes me so nervous having a kid in first class. She did great. Even, and we'll talk about this later, a lady walked up and she was like, are you kidding me? 2 kids in first class? Are you kidding me? And I was like, what do you want me to say? Oh, let me go trade with somebody and coach? I'm not doing that. So she was at the end of the flight. Neither of the kids made a peep. They slept the whole time. It was awesome. She got up and she turned to her husband and she's like, I was wrong. Those kids were great. And I was like, yeah, lady, eat your words, please. That was so
even if they weren't.
Yeah.
Wes has flown first class more than Steven. He's flown first class quite a few times because I have good
Yeah.
status with the
Yeah.
airline. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, even if they're not good, right?
Right.
If so,
I know.
I don't know how you kept your mouth shut and not responding to that.
I literally
Like,
was
does it
like,
look like I'm joking?
No, I'm not
yeah.
kidding.
Yeah. I'm just holding this seat until the real people come sit here. Like, ridiculous. But yeah, so we've been to Jackson, we've been to Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, the Florida, but the big ones we took Hannah to France. We went to Nice and Monaco when she was I want to say she was about 16 months at that point. And what happened was Brandon was on a work trip in Belgium. So I was like, all right, Hannah and I will fly out and meet you after your trip. And that was rough. Our flight was from Phoenix to London, so a 10-hour flight, and she cried. If we sat down, she cried so much. So we just roamed the aisles. We were in the bathroom for probably 2 hours of the flight, like just trying to keep her busy and trying to move. And there was there was this very sweet woman who her daughter was like a year older than Hannah, and she's like, I have an open seat next to me, why don't you trade seats with me, I'll take your seat. And I had like a terrible seat, like a middle seat. She took it for us, and then we got the extra seat next to open next to us. We were so lucky for her. But same thing, like we're jumping all over on these questions, but she kept being like, oh, I can give you my phone for CoComelon, you can watch CoComelon. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, we don't do that. Like, she wouldn't even pay attention at that point. She wouldn't have paid attention to any videos or anything like that. So I was like, that's very sweet of you. But like those flights on the way to Europe, everybody volunteered to hold her. Like, all of these people were like, let me give you a break for a minute. And I was like, I'm not putting my child on you. Like, I feel terrible that you would have to hear this girl screaming in your ear. And everybody was so, so sweet. I was so lucky. And but anyway, we did that. And then we just a couple of weeks ago got back from Scotland and Italy, and Aubrey was the one who could not be consoled. She just cried a lot. So that was hard, but worth it. Totally worth it. The time while we were there, the 2 weeks while we were there, were incredible. We had such a great time, and I wouldn't take it back for that. But I also went into it with the mindset that it was going to be horrible, and we were going to have 2 screaming horrible kids, and we only had 1. So it was like a win for us, really.
I think that's the point,
yeah.
though, right? Is you have to let go of any expectation and prepare for the worst.
Yes.
Like, straight up, just prepare for the worst and hope for the best. But like, focus on that preparing for the worst.
I agree. That is a total tip I would give to everybody with traveling with kids, is completely expect for the worst and also try to prepare for the worst. Like, if you know that your kid, whatever it is, like, and this is also goes along with, and we can get into this at some point, like family and how we handle family parenting our kids differently than we would. We, on the way to Europe, let Hannah do screen time. We let her watch videos, and because we don't watch videos a lot, her attention span is like 0. Like, we bought her headphones. We tried to get her super excited about these headphones and listening to songs and watching these videos, and she would like, I don't want the headphones on, but she wanted to watch the video. So she's watching the video without sound, and she's like, what's happening? It's like, well, if you put your headphones on, you'll know what's happening. But like those kinds of things, or like snacks that you usually like don't allow them to have, or don't like use in excess. Like, we buy those little like yogurt chip thingies that you can get in the bags from, I don't remember who makes those, but yeah, like Hannah loves those. And like, they're not intended for kids her age because they're not very filling. They're not very substancy, but she loves them and she thinks they're a treat. So we're like, all right, we'll buy those for flights. And like, we have certain things that are really like designated for flights, so that she knows when we're going on flights, she's going to get these things, and she gets really excited. Like, she's obsessed with Somewhere Over the Rainbow by, I don't know
Israel,
how to say his name. He's Hawaiian.
Yes.
She's obsessed with him. So she'll ask for him all the time. Mommy, put Iz on. Or when Iz comes on, like, I'll like wait for a few seconds to see if she can say it. She's like, is, and she gets so excited. So we play is for her on the flights, and Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys she's obsessed with. So we try to like, I mean, not that we don't play those at home, but we try to really like make things that are really special on flights for them, you know, so that they know that like certain special things that they don't get to do at home, they'll get to do on the flights.
Yeah, that's a good tip that I got when Wes was younger too. Like, have special things for travel that you don't bring out any other time. Wes's thing is those crunchy snap peas.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I literally buy a bag for each flight, and just like he'll just sit there, and again, they're not like super nutritious, but they're also not bad for you. So I'm like, whatever, it keeps. And then we've got like a little busy board for him that we take.
Yes.
On those flights, but yeah.
Yeah, we have one of those too. The busy board's great. I mean, it was for Hannah, she didn't really grasp it, but she still liked to look at the things and do those kinds of things, which was really cool. So yeah, doing like certain toys. Like, so my aunt, very cool throwback to when I was a kid, we had highlight magazines.
Oh, yeah.
My aunt subscribed her to those. So we get those every, I don't know, 6 weeks. She loves them. So we saved one for like, we hid it and then brought it out for the flight so that she could see it. Because those actually keep her interest really long. Like, I don't know why. She just loves them. And she could go through them 85 times and still like act like it's the first time she's seen it. She loves them. So that's another thing we do for flights as well.
I loved those magazines as a kid too.
Yeah, I don't remember loving them as much as Hannah loves them, but I remember getting them and getting excited for magazines in the mail for sure. Danielle, do you have any hacks for flights or long?
Well, yeah, I got a little backpack, and I threw toys in it that he hasn't seen before.
Nice.
I recently just got I don't know what a busy board is, but it's more like it's a board like what do you call that? With the switches.
Mm-hmm. We have that too.
I don't even know what you would call it. You can plug it in, and the light comes on. You turn on and off the light.
Yeah, we have that.
You put the key in and turn it. Yeah, so
she loves that too.
I can't. Yeah, so they have big ones, but we have like a little one, and then I've seen like the folders with like the buckles and stuff in it, but Weston's too young for that. But I think
that's the busy board I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I do have one of those, but Weston's like, I don't know about that. Yeah, I thought he would like it because he tries to buckle his.
Hannah was too young for that until she was probably 2. Like and even now she's still like, I don't know how to do this. Yeah. It's more fun for me. Like, I time myself doing everything on it. How fast can I tie the shoe?
That's so funny. Yeah, just like something new that they hadn't seen, and then snacks for sure. I usually like bake some muffins to take with me on the way, but then like I don't have anything on the way back. But just packing a lot of snacks.
Snacks is huge. Make sure you have a lot of snacks. Like, another bad experience that we had on a flight, we sat down on our plane, and I opened up peanut butter and jelly, and a guy turned around and snapped at me and was like, my wife is severely allergic to peanuts. You need to put that away right now. And I'm like, this is the only thing I brought for her to eat on this long flight. Like, what am I going to do? Right? Like, I freaked out. And then I was like, oh, I'm like in tears because I got yelled at, and I was like, I need my child to eat. And so I was like, all right, fine, we'll go to the bathroom. And I'm like, she could have been the next one in the bathroom and would have died from my peanuts. Like, what's going to happen to her? Yeah, it was a very traumatic experience. So I was like, from then on, I bring so many snacks brands. Like, is this necessary? I'm like, yeah, because, we've also been on extremely delayed flights where we're in, airports at times where a lot of the restaurants are closed, and you're like, scrambling for what you're going to do for food. So like literally thinking out like, okay, what's the worst scenario I could get into, and make sure you have enough food. We've run out of diapers twice in airports, and luckily for both of them, we have found shops that have sold diapers, but the one place, the diapers they sold, they only had 2 diapers in the pack that they sold.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that buys me, if my kid's perfect, buys me maybe 5 hours. And if it's like a bad accident day, then we're going to be in trouble. And then the second time we had to buy them, I had to buy 30 diapers. I don't have anywhere to store 30 diapers,
Stroller
but I'm not
bag.
going to throw them away because they're right.
Yeah.
If I had the stroller bag, it would have been in great shape. But 30 diapers, and they weren't her size. They were too big, because you get what you get there, you know, like luckily it was too big and not like too small, and I had to buy ones for my 2.5-year-old child. So yeah, so that's one thing that like now we prepare, and like in our diaper bag we have like 20 diapers for each of them, because we've been on so many delayed flights, or one of them starts like pooping like crazy, you know, it's just crazy. But Danielle, I've been with you on flights where we've gotten pooped on and peed on, and it's almost like I have to bring an extra change of clothes for myself now for flights, because of all of the stuff that happens, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point, because I remember the first time I did fly with Weston, I had enough diapers because I remember you telling me bring lots of diapers, and I had him a change of clothes. I did not have a change of shirt. I had like breast milk and just basically breast milk all over my shirt. And it just, I looked like a mess.
I will say, every time I've landed after a flight with Weston, I feel like I just like look like I got tore up in a tornado. Like it's not a cute look. Hopefully there's no first impressions when you get off the flight, because that's like, I go to the bathroom to change him right when I get off the flight, because I have an irrational fear of airport or airplane bathrooms. And I blame it on the movie Castaway, because he was in the bathroom when they crashed. So I always go straight to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry, Stephen, you've married a lagoon creature. Like, yeah, it's rough. You get beat up for sure. But yeah, at least I was in the situation where I had to buy the diapers too, and they only had 2 in that pack. And I'm like, well, this is an 8-hour flight or 7-hour flight, whatever it was. Let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
My second like travel trip with Weston, I was with my sister, and we were going back home because she lived with me for a while. And yeah, before we even got on the plane, he'd already, and again, he was only drinking like breast milk, and it was just like the blowout up the back. And I already had to change him in his one pair of extra clothes that I brought, and we haven't even like started our day. It was right before we got there and ordered our coffee to like get on the plane.
Well,
so maybe bring 2 pairs of extra
clothes. And back to the snack thing real quick. I was just thinking about this. We were running low on snacks on one of the trips before we got on the airplane. I can't remember which one it was. And I remember going to try and find a 1-year-old age appropriate snack in the airport. And I didn't end up, I think I ended up buying a cup of fruit, and that was all I could find, because everything else was just complete trash. So I carry a lunchbox full of snacks. That's like my carry-on. That and my diaper bag.
Yep.
You do the Snackle
You know
box.
what? I haven't done one of those yet. I think they're a cool idea in theory, but at the same time, I just stick everything in bags or Tupperware and just stick it in my lunchbox. And
I will say that's a really cool hack too, to have the Tupperware, because then when you get to your Airbnb or VRBO, you have storage containers, which a lot of them don't have, which has been a really good, that's one of my travel hacks. Like, we avoid hotels as much as possible, because I much prefer to be able to have a refrigerator or a place to store food and to make food, so that you're not going out for every meal and everything like that. So that's one of my hacks. But I'm a big Airbnb, VRBO fan. Like, I prefer that to hotels.
So when, Lisa, I won't stay anywhere if there's not a full kitchen. When we flew out to California, when Weston was just 1, it was when he was just transitioning to fully baby-led weaning. He still did a couple, or I'm sorry, fully solids. He still did a couple bottles while we were on that trip. Mostly just bedtime bottles at that point. But my favorite hack for baby-led weaning and feeding toddlers is bulk prep and then portion it out and freezer store it. We've got what is it called? A vacuum sealer. I don't know why food saver. We have a food saver.
Yeah.
And so when we traveled out to California, I had literally all of his food frozen in food saver bags and took a week's worth of food with us. So I don't even worry about him the whole time.
That's awesome.
When we went through security, the guy was like, wow, this guy's eating like a king. I was like, well, I don't know what type of food we're going to be eating, but at least he's got good, healthy, safe options for him. So, and the freezer bags, it makes them really, really small. They're compact. They're easy. So that's like my favorite thing. That was really nice for traveling too.
Tell me some of the crazy things you guys have heard from people while you're traveling, or their unsolicited advice or suggestions, what have you. What have you guys experienced there?
I think the first time I came back from Hawaii, this lady was like looking at Weston and very sarcastically said, "We just like it when you guys ride in the car." And like Ryan didn't catch it, and I was just like, is this lady implying that she'd rather not have a baby on the plane? Because we're in Hawaii and there's like no other option but to get on this plane.
Can you drive to Hawaii, please?
Yeah. And I've had people say just like, oh, well, like he didn't cry like I expected him to, or like, he did really good, which I know, thank you. But no, I think the one that stands out the most is the last trip we took. Where were we? We were coming back, I think from Maryland, or we were coming back from California. It's one of the trips that we took in July. And this guy was sitting like adjacent from us, and Weston was crying, and it was late. It was his bedtime, and because sometimes I can't, especially when I'm going to the East Coast, it's hard to schedule a flight around his bedtime or his nap time. And then so he was fighting it, and he would not go down and to sleep, and he was just kind of whiny, and he doesn't have the Passy anymore either. I will say when we took the Passy away, made traveling a lot harder, because when we traveled with the Passy, we'd give it to him and he would fall asleep, but so now it's different. So he just kept staring. He kept looking back at Weston and just like looking angry. I was like, I swear if he looks at me, he looked at me once and I smiled. I was like, if he looks back here again, I think I'm going to flip him off. And that's what I told Ryan. I was like, I dare him to look back here. Just because the looks he was giving, he felt angry. Or I shouldn't say this. I mean, he was wearing his mask and he kept really pressing it hard, like he was going to get some disease from Weston. I mean, we're living in 2024 now. Like, you don't have to wear the mask anymore. But if you want to, that's fine. But he just, because, Weston, I feel like sneezes a lot when we're on the plane. So does everybody else. I'm like, oh, God. Yeah. And so he's just like mad and like he's just moving and he kept looking. And I'm like, dude, like, I'm sorry. There's like nothing. I don't know. Like, find a new seat. I don't know why it made me so mad. I think
I like that.
Like, we live in a time that you can have noise cancellation headphones, like the ones right here I have on my head, and you don't have to hear the babies if you don't want to. So just spend the extra money, or spend the money, because I'm not up in first class with you guys. I'm back in economy. With the peasants.
With the peasants.
That's me. Yeah, but splurge a little, get a little the noise cancellation headphones, and tune them out.
Yeah,
because that's what I used to do before.
Right, that's just it. Like, if you know that that there's the potential for something to bother you in any aspect of your life, be proactive, and just like find your own individual solution.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I was talking to my brother and he had a horrible flight experience after a bachelor party I think it was like last year, a couple years ago. And he was like, yeah, I had a kid behind me and he just kept kicking my chair and I'm hungover. I'm miserable. He kept kicking. And I was like, I get
Yeah.
that. Like, I understand your frustration with that for sure. Like that's not fair, especially if like the parent's not going to make any effort. So Brandon was saying that he always makes sure when he gets on flights, because Hannah's always like rocking the chair in front of us and doing crazy things. And he's like, I always try to be really loud and be like, Hannah, don't do that. That's disrespectful to the parent people in front of you, even though he knows that's not going to stop her. Right. Like, but he at least is saying something and they acknowledge that he hears, because we get it. I mean, we were in that boat at one point. We didn't have kids and we were like, oh, kids, this stinks, but it's hard, but you're right. Like, it's the same thing like that I said about the peanut lady. Like, you're going on a flight and you can't expect every single person on that flight not to have peanuts when you're severely allergic. Like, I don't know what you do there.
I've been on flights before. I've actually been on 2 where they've come over the intercom and said that they have somebody who's anaphylactic on the flight and you cannot open anything that has peanuts in it.
I've never heard that before. I've never heard that. And I also think like, if that's the case, like, but here I am again, like I'm an over communicator. I'm like, send me an email the night before and tell me that there's going to be a person on that flight that's severely allergic. I won't even bring them on the plane because by that point I already have it on the plane. And you don't know what my kid's going to do. I don't know what my kid's going to do from minute to minute. If she pulls out her peanut butter and jelly, shit, like that's bad. I need to not do that, but I can't, so anyway, neither here nor there. Yeah. Leah, have you had any people that you've been like, all right, back off?
I've only had one. I've actually had a lot of really positive experiences with people, which has again been going to expecting the worst and hope for the best. And I've seen a lot of the best of humanity. I especially on my trip back from Hawaii after my dad fell and all of that catastrophe. There were a lot of really great people, but on a flight, again, I don't know which flight it was. Wesson will always cry in the beginning, but then it's like pretty much as soon as we take off, he falls asleep. And, so when we're just sitting there on the tarmac waiting, like, we try and board later so that there's less time on the flight. That's another tip, to not board at the first boarding group.
Oh yeah. Especially really quickly, because if you do travel with kids, they have family boarding a lot of times. And that's like after group 1 or after group 2. And it's like, I mean, I don't know what, a million people told us in Europe, oh, you can get on first. I'm like, you don't want my kids to get on first. I don't want my kids to get on first. I understand the sentiment. It takes you a little bit longer to do things. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, totally agree. But, we were sitting there and there was a woman who was a couple rows in front of us who sent the flight attendant over to talk to us and say, hey, this woman has an extra device. She's willing to lend it to you guys so that your kid can watch whatever and calm down. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, please tell the lady thank you. That's very kind of her and generous to offer, but we're not interested. We appreciate it. So the flight attendant went back and told the woman that. And then it couldn't have been even 10 minutes. So seriously, Wesson's never cried on a flight for more than 20 minutes. So it couldn't have been 10 minutes. And the woman walks over with her iPhone and just stuck it in front of Wesson's face. That woman is lucky I didn't knock it into her face. So I was like, we're good. Thank you. And she's like, well, this works for my baby. And he looks like he's the same age. And I was like, that's fantastic. I'm happy for you. You've already asked. We politely declined. And if you ask again, it's not going to be polite. I have this like weird fantasy. I think I'm a Chihuahua. I have this weird fantasy that I'm like bigger than I am, and like I have, because I just, in my mind, I'm so ferocious, and I'm going to take on these people. I'm 5'3". Like I'm not going anywhere. So anyways, yeah, that's the only time that I really like was frustrated with anybody. When the catastrophe of coming back from Hawaii happened, and I was like trying to get my dad on the flight in the wheelchair, trying to get Weston on the flight, trying to get the stroller and the stroller bag. There was a woman who came up to me and was like, I can take your bags for you. I'll take this down to gate check. I will help you out. And me just like not trusting the branch that just fell from my tree, that calling it that it's a branch, was like, this woman's going to steal my stuff. I can't help her. Like, I can't let her help me out. And then sure enough, she was sitting in the seat behind us, and Weston was playing peekaboo with her the whole flight. And I was like, oh man, I kind of feel bad that I didn't trust you and take you up on your offer. Cause I definitely like our stroller and our stroller bag. It's bigger than me. Like, and so I look ridiculous when I put it on as a backpack to carry it down the tarmac or down the jetway. Coupled with carrying a toddler and a diaper bag and a dad in a wheelchair. Like, I just should have trusted in humanity a little bit more in that moment and been like, where is this woman going to take my stroller? She's going to take it down to the end of the jetway. She's not going to go run off with it. She was like older. We talked. She's got 4 kids. They were all like in their 20s and 30s. Like just a nice lady. So I should have trusted her and taken the help. But yeah, I've only had that one lady. The rest of them have been great. Flight attendants have always been awesome. Pilots have always given us wings. Like that's always been, we've got a couple sets of wings, which I think is really cute. I remember getting those as a kid, but they were like puffy stickers and now they're pins. And I'm like, who decided to give a child a pin? Like
I got a pin. I remember getting a pin from United when I was like, I don't know, 10, maybe a little bit younger, but you know what? Hannah hasn't had a lot of pins, I think, or, you know, wings or anything. She's only gotten it once. And I'm like, I need to start like focusing on that because I think she'll love that. But I don't know if they like wait for you to kind of initiate things. I'm not really sure how that all goes, but she loves that kind of stuff.
They've always just given them to us, but I'm sure if you ask for it, they'll give them to you. Like they usually give it to us as we're getting off the plane.
Okay.
Alaska was the nicest. It was actually metal. United is like plastic.
Yeah, United's very plastic.
American, I think, is metal.
Yeah.
The American ones
we got
were nice.
Yeah, I don't have American out of Great Falls. Just 3.
So one of our flights, we were in first class, and I think I had Aubrey with me, and Brandon was with Hannah, but I like go to sit down and I see this man and he's probably in his like, I don't know, 40s, like upper 40s. And I'm like, oh, he's going to be so mad that he has Aubrey sitting next to him. This is going to be a disaster. And I sit down and I was like, hey, like already being like apologetic eyes. And he's like, hey, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. You're traveling with her this young. And I was like, all right. He's like, I have 4 kids, 4 girls actually. And I was like, wow. And he's like, if you need any help at all, like, please let me know if I can get something out of your bag. And I like actually took him up on it. And I was like, cause I think you open that door of like, I understand what you're going through when you tell me you have kids. But I agree with you, Leah. There's a lot of hard, like that flight to France where I like didn't want anybody to hold Hannah because I felt so bad. But if they're offering, like, you know yourself, like I would go and offer that same thing having been through that. And I would truly like, I'm not going to offer if I don't want it to happen. So it's hard though. It's hard to get into that mindset of like, it's kind of like our group of girlfriends who 3 of them don't have kids. And I like, don't want to talk about my kids in that group text because they didn't sign up to have kids. So surely they don't want to hear about my kids. And we had dinner the other night and they were talking and they were like, we literally want to hear about your kids. Like send us stuff about your kids. And I'm like, it's like such a weird, a weird line on that. Like what's the right amount to you don't want to bombard them every day, but you also, it is nice to be able to talk about your kids and do those things. And same thing with on flights. Like, tell me when I sit down with my kid, tell me, hey, I've had kids, I've been through this. Like, that makes me feel better, rather than just assuming everybody's going to hate that my kid's sitting next to them.
I had one more interaction that I forgot about. Danielle, we sound really, really bougie. I swear. I don't think we both only fly first class.
Pinkies up.
Pinky up.
I think I will
Okay,
tell
guys.
you, when I worked at the resort, I was the only person on the site who had a credit card with a high limit. And so all of the charges from the resort went on my personal credit card through American. So I just ranked up Boku bucks and points and status. So
Nice.
I don't pay for first class. Okay.
Okay.
But I was flying first class one flight, and I was getting situated and sitting down, and I hear this guy behind me be like, "Oh my God, who puts a baby in first class?" It was Steven. He was boarding after me. And he was recording on his phone to see what my reaction would be. So I was
That's so funny.
oh,
That's amazing.
okay, cool. Because see, here's the other
husband.
caveat, Danielle. Usually only I get upgraded. So that's why I said Wes has flown first class more than Steven, because Wes and I will fly first class and Steven going to the back. But he's like good
Brandon
with that,
has
because
the
then he's like,
status.
I don't have to listen to Wes cry.
Brandon has the status, but if he gets upgraded, a lot of times he like puts me in first class, and I'm like, buddy, you're the one that's 6'3". I'm 5'3", 5'4". Like, I don't need to be in first class. You take the first class. It's okay. But yeah, he has status because he travels a lot more. Well, he did travel a lot more for work than I did. So yeah, same thing. We don't pay for first class. We just get lucky and upgraded sometimes. But we've been running into issues where we haven't been getting upgraded where we should be. And my theory is it's because of the kids. And he's done a bunch of research. He's like, they're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to not bump you up because you have a kid with you. And I'm like, it's kind of like lotteries.
Yeah, but American has
real?
also changed a lot of their
Man.
policies and practices with points and stuff recently.
Yeah.
So status doesn't mean as much as it used to.
True. Yeah. But anyway, yep. So, Danielle, go ahead. Did you have something?
Were we going to talk about positives? I did have a couple,
Yeah.
but
Go ahead.
or did we already?
No.
We can go past that.
No, go for it.
No, just Weston also was about to lose it one flight, and this like 12-year-old behind us was playing peekaboo with him, and for like 30 minutes to an hour, and it was until we landed, and we're like, thank you so much, like you kept him from having a meltdown. And I will say a flight attendant was like really awesome. So my second flight, like back home, when Weston was still breastfeeding, I was so thirsty and I didn't fill up my water, or I'd already drank my water that I'd filled up, and I was like so thirsty, and she was like bringing me first class waters, and I was in business. I didn't pay for it. I just got put there because if you don't pick a seat, sometimes they just throw you into business. And and so she just brought me all the waters, like a whole bunch. So it was really really nice. And she gave us wings too, and she's like, he was so good. And so she had kids, and so she just got it. I'm like, I'm so thirsty, but they were like the mini bottles. I think she brought me 5.
Yeah,
it was great.
The flight attendants have been so great, like so great. I have never had an experience that they haven't. They usually come up and they try to play peekaboo, or they try to talk to them, engage with my kids, and I'm like so appreciative of that, because that is, anytime like you get uneasy about what's going to happen with your kids, anybody who engages in a positive manner, you're like, oh, thank goodness. There are good people out there. There are people who aren't going to be mad at me. It's awesome to have them. So thank you, flight attendants out there, for all of your, although I did actually have one in Italy that was very much not happy about my kids being on the flight, but that's okay. We got through it.
I guarantee you, your kids weren't the only kids on her flight path that day.
No, yeah, I know. Exactly. I try to be really respectful, because I know, like, especially on those 10, 11-hour flights, like, my kids make a big mess, and I try to clean up as much as possible to and I know that's not the flight attendants cleaning up, there's other people, but trying to be respectful of that, of like, hey, I'm not going to leave a whole bag of popcorn smashed up on your floor that you have to take forever to clean up with your vacuum cleaner that doesn't take forever, but you know what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Try to be a little bit more respectful in that manner too. So,
but I think that's
I will say one more story.
What, Danielle?
Good. Oh, I was going to say one more thing that reminded me of flight attendants.
I'll just add on to Lisa's real quick. But I think that's also a really good point, Lisa, because that's not how all parents are. And I think that adds to why people don't like having kids around, right? Is you being kind of in that selfish mindset of, okay, my kid's destroying everything. I don't care. I'm not going to do anything about it. But if you make that extra effort and if you genuinely care, like, okay, I know, I'm always thinking like there's somebody's job is to clean up. Somebody's job is to do this. Like, would I want somebody to intentionally make my job harder? No. So I'm going to do the best that I can. And obviously it's hard with kids, right? You're not going to get everything cleaned up. There's going to be instances where you can't, but like the people who just blatantly neglect that, like, okay, sorry, I'm speaking from experience at restaurants, right? Like there's a significant difference in the families that I don't even want to say clean up, but straighten up versus the families who just cause mass destruction. And I
100%. I stack my plates. I pick up the big chunks off the floor just because I worked at Red Lobster and this couple came in with their little baby every single week and they would get her the fried whatever seafood stuff and she would just look at me, I swear, and like drop it on the floor. and they would leave. I'd have them move the whole table and use that little vacuum roller thing to get. It was just so much to clean up. So yeah, ever since then, it's like I'm the same way. And I will literally I'll even wipe the table where my son ate. So I feel you.
Yeah, I think it's a big respect thing. Like, you know, we had Hannah's daycare, one of the things when we had her parent-teacher conference for a 1.5-year-old, they were like, we've noticed that Hannah doesn't clean up after herself. She doesn't clean up, her toys and stuff like that. And I was like, we're on it. I'm not being the one parent whose kids doesn't clean up after themselves when they're done. So like, if you're done with that toy before you move to the next toy, let's go put it away. We're not good at it, but we're still working on it. And yeah, like same thing at a restaurant. Let's be respectful of the people that are working for us and doing stuff like that. So yeah, I agree. Danielle, did you have another positive? Did you say story?
Yeah. Another flight attendant story. It was from Seattle to here and it's like under a 2-hour flight, but we were not taking off as soon as the flight attendant was like, and she's like, we got a baby on board. We need to get the lights off. So she just wanted him to like go to sleep. And she knew that he was on the verge of just losing it. And then she also gave us airplane bottles. She's like, what do you want to drink? She gave Ryan 2 and me 1. And she's like, you look like you need 2. And I'm thinking like, hello, I'm the mom here, but like, look at a good dad he is. Cause I will say Ryan will hold Weston when he sleeps mostly more than me. He just has more as a man, more real estate. And I think more comfortable than me. Totally. It's like, I don't know, like his arms are nicer to fall asleep in probably than mine. So yeah, he's like, I get 2. And she only gave me 1 little airplane bottle. I got like vodka and Coke and he had like 2 Jacks. And I'm like, okay, that's how it is. I know they're both really cute, so it's fine. But that was just nice. She just wanted us to get up in the air so she could get the lights dim so he could go to sleep.
That's cool.
But yeah. That's all I got.
I will say they kept my champagne full on the flight back from Hawaii, which was very nice.
Yes.
Oh, in first class?
Yes, I just drank it with my pinky up and my nose in the air. Oh, my toddler was running around the pod.
Well, Weston's eating off of a silver spoon in first class.
You know, I saw this meme yesterday.
Us peasants in the back, we don't even get a free drink. So.
Danielle, this is only going to dig my grave even deeper. But
let me hear it.
We only flew first class growing up, And my dad used to always say, like, we're not going to go fly with those people, as a joke, as a total joke. But like, he was like, and so now to this day, he'll be like, are you flying with those people? And I'm like, yes, Dad, I am one of those people now because you're not paying for me to go everywhere. No, but I was just thinking how we all just went into like a British voice, right? I saw this meme yesterday, literally, that was like, do the Brits know that when we are imitating and being snotty, we always have a British accent?
Very posh. Well, mine was redneck. I don't know. It was country. I don't know. That's so funny. Yeah, a stay-at-home mom, it's really hard to get that first class ticket.
I love it.
So my tickets probably come from Expedia.
You have like 85 stops to get one state over just to get the
Yeah, no, I will pay the extra money to just have one stop.
For sure.
Yep. I like it. Well, is there anything else we want to cover before we move along? I know we talked about some packing hacks. The big thing that I'll say is go ahead, Leah.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm changing the subject.
Okay. I really try to find Airbnb and VRBOs that have washing machines. So that's a big thing for me. And that's why I try to travel lighter. Like for Europe, we got shuttles both in Scotland and Italy, and they brought these like huge vans for us. And I mean, granted, there were like, depending on where we were going, 7 to 9 of us. So they needed them. But the 4 of us came out, Brandon, me, Aubrey, and Hannah, and we had 2 suitcases, and then each of us had a backpack, except for Aubrey. She didn't have a backpack. But and the guys kept being like, it would be very cute. But they were like, where's the rest of your stuff? And we're like, no, this is it. This is all we have. And they're like puzzled, right? Like that to us, like, so we also ask, do you guys have a crib at the places that we rent? We don't rent them, only rent places that have cribs. But when we were in France, Brandon found a company that rents cribs to you. And then what they do is they give you a box so you can ship it back to wherever that location is that's closest. So you just have to get to a mail center and ship it. They give you the label and everything. That was a game changer for us because we didn't have to travel with a pack and play through Europe, which was awesome. So we did those kinds of things. I tried to think of Aubrey going through 4 outfits in one day for blowouts. And so I tried to get through 3 days worth of that. That's a lot, right? Like that's 12 outfits. That's a lot of outfits. That's the max that I'll bring with us. And like, hopefully she won't blow out 4 times in one day, but you know how it is. Like she's eating new solids. She's going to be messy. So, and then we'll do laundry. Same thing with Hannah. Like I try to bring like 2 pairs of pants, 3 pairs of shorts, and then 5 shirts, and that's it. And we are very limited on what we bring. Like we're on vacation together. We all know what we look like. We all know we don't need to dress up with our nicest outfits. Yes, we'll bring maybe 1 good outfit for each of us, but we are very minimal in what we bring. And then, 2 pairs of shoes. I will say the reason we ended up with 2 suitcases this time, and I'm very big on like, I want to go all carry on all of my flights. So we have no way of losing our stuff. But we brought 2 sleeves. We brought a sleeve each of diapers for each of them, which took up half the suitcase, half this big suitcase. And then we bought the rest of the diapers while we were there because we were like, what's the point? I don't want to bring 2 weeks worth of diapers with us. It just takes up a lot of room. But yeah, so those are kind of my hacks. Just try and be minimal. Like go and experience the things. We don't bring a lot of toys with us because we want them to go out and play at the parks while we're there and go to explore different things. So that's just how we are, and that doesn't mean that's the right thing. But that's how I like to travel light.
That's good advice. I need to do that. I have too many cute outfits. I just don't know how to choose.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Well, I'm also a person who, when I pack, I have to wear every single thing I bring. So on the last day, as if I've overpacked, I'm wearing like 3 or 4 outfits in one day, like, because I refuse to not wear everything I bring with me. So then you get to the point where you're like, all right, last time I did this, I wore 3 outfits in the last day. Maybe let's cut out 1 outfit and see how it goes. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Do you bring like washing detergent? Do you buy it where you're at?
I've done both. So my kids have bad reactions to laundry detergent, scented laundry detergent. So if I'm going to somewhere in the States and I know they'll have Dreft, I'll be like, no big deal. I won't travel with it. If we're going to go somewhere where I don't know what we're going to experience, I will travel with like, you can buy like the sample or the travel size Drefts. Sometimes you have to get them on Amazon. So you have to kind of do a little bit of planning, and I'll bring those with us. Europe, I forgot, and I did find, luckily, an unscented laundry detergent while we were there, so that I could do that. And some of the Airbnbs do have laundry detergents, but again, those are mostly scented, so I'm not able to use those. So
yeah,
traveled with
same. I
Jeff.
don't like the scented
I
either.
travel with
Yeah.
my own laundry
Yeah.
detergent even to my in-laws.
Yeah, I do a lot
I
of
do
non-scented
everything
things.
non-scented.
So when someone walks by me, I can smell their
Mhm.
laundry detergent. Like downwind, I feel like I'm a deer. I'm like, oh, I can smell their clothing from here. I mean, it doesn't smell bad, but it's like the fragrant of like Gain or Tide. And
One of my neighbors has
so,
like all of their laundry detergent and chemicals in their garage, and I can walk by their house with the stroller and I can smell it, and I'm just like, to me it's awful. Like, it makes me instantly nauseous.
yeah,
I'm so hypersensitive to all that stuff.
same.
But yeah, like my in-laws have like plug-in air fresheners, and I like had to request that they don't plug them in while I'm there, because like
I made that comment to my parents. My parents are dryer sheet junkies. They love the scented ones, and I'm like, Dad, I cannot even be in the same room with you. This is nauseating to me, and it makes me break out. It makes the girls break out. Like, it's so hard though, because that's their lives. I understand it. Like, I said something to my mom. I'm like, I don't want to change your lives. I know that's very difficult, but like, the sheets that we sleep on, can you at least like use the Dreft for that? Like, I know the Dreft doesn't clean like the Tide does, but if you can just, try to do that on our way down. And if you forget, that's okay. Like, I will wash them when I get down there, and I will wash them in the detergent that I bring with, or that you guys have stored that's mine, because it's just not worth it to me to go through those breakouts and being itchy and gross all over. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I asked ChatGPT, where are the best places to travel with kids under the age of 2? And what do you think is number 1?
Disneyland. Probably not under 2, but I'm gonna say Disneyland or World, whichever.
Well,
Florida
aren't
or-
they free when they're under 3? Leah, is that Disney's
Mm-hmm.
deal? That's
So
big.
do you think that's number 1? What's your guess, Lisa?
Yeah.
I'd say same. I'd say Disney.
Yeah, Disney's number 1. And
Yeah.
speaking from experience, it's awesome. Like, the fact that they are free is great. Again, same type of thing, like go in with no expectations whatsoever. But we had the best time when we went. It was so much fun. So number 2 is San Diego.
San Diego's Zoo. I was gonna say
Yeah,
that.
you got me.
Oh. I went there when I was 25 or whatever. It was fun.
So we're actually going to San Diego in November. And so I'm like, oh, Steven, we got to go to the San Diego Zoo, and I want to go to Legoland, because Legoland, they're also free when they're under 3, and they have a lot of Legoland actually has an article it's called What to Do Under 2, or What to Do If You're 2. And so they have quite a few things too. So on this list, according to ChatGPT, says San Diego. Why? San Diego Zoo, Legoland, and SeaWorld.
That's good to know, because
Yeah.
Brandon loves Legos, and he's like just dying for the girls to get into Legos. But we've been talking about going to San Diego in November too. We'll have to talk about that.
No, I'm like excited for those things because like I really want to do those things. And then number
Okay.
3, this gave me a list of 10, but I think the top 3 are interesting.
Phoenix.
Number 3.
What's 3? I guess Phoenix.
Hershey Park. No, I don't know. That's not a good place to
Not
go.
for 2-year-olds, I don't think, but maybe.
No.
It's Hawaii. So we've all done a great job of going to the
yeah.
best places to visit according to
Yeah.
AI.
Yes.
Nice. I will tell you, I've never been to Disney World or Land. World would have been that's Florida, right?
Yeah.
That's the one I asked my parents to go. They said, because you remember the commercial like on the VHS for like any Disney movie, and they're like dragging their suitcase in there and they're trying to shut it, and it's like so full. Like, we're going to Disney World. And I'm like, I want to go.
So it sounds
Myrtle
like,
Beach.
Danielle, you need a
South Carolina.
first class ticket to Disney World.
Yep. If anyone wants to fund that,
I was
for
just
me,
gonna
go
say,
ahead.
can we make
I'll
like
send you
a
my Venmo?
like a wish list, like a podcast wish list?
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
that'd be fun.
Yes. Well, that was fun. So, what do we want to wrap up with? Chat GPT question?
Sure. What are we thinking? What should we ask AI, our lovely friend, in regards to traveling and kids?
Does it do would you
Okay, yeah.
rather?
What is a good... Okay. Here's a would you rather question for moms about traveling with kids. Would you rather take a 12-hour flight with your kids to a dream destination with all the amenities you need, or go on a 4-hour road trip to a closer but less exciting spot where you have to bring the essentials yourself?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah, the first
Let me ask
The
for
first
another
one.
one. I would totally do the 12-hour flight with all the amenities I need. Would you rather travel to a beautiful all-inclusive resort where you can fully relax but your kids are super active and restless, or visit a bustling city with tons of activities for the kids but little time for yourself to unwind?
The beach, where they're restless and
Active.
Yeah, because if I'm on vacation, then that means my husband's on vacation, and it's go time for him because he works all the time, and like you get all this time with the kids. Good luck. I don't know. That's just me.
Lisa, what do you think?
Or I'll bring my in-laws.
Can you say them one more
Sure.
time?
Would you rather travel to a beautiful all-inclusive resort where you can fully relax but your kids are super active and restless, or visit a bustling city with tons of activities for the kids but little time for yourself to unwind?
So I can't remember who said it, but there's a difference between a trip and a vacation when you have kids. And I think when there are kids involved, I expect to not have time for myself. So I would say things for them to be happy and good. Like, I would much rather her to be active and doing things rather than just sitting and being completely unhappy and restless.
Yeah, so I mean,
What do you think?
I
Leah?
translate super active and restless as we dropped them off at the kids club and they're having a great time. So
there we go. Now I don't feel
so
so bad
I'm gonna go
anymore.
option 1 of I'm fully relaxing and the kids are with the resort babysitters and it's awesome. Yeah.
I like your answer too, Lisa.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Sure.
I always need a vacation after vacation.
Oh,
yeah.
I come back and I need to sleep
Always, absolutely.
and exhausted.
Yes.
Speaking of,
Well, that was good. I know we jumped all over the place, but I think that was, hopefully people got some good info out of it.
Yeah.
And always feel free to send us questions, engage with us on social media. We are able to do that. So anything to add before we go?
Don't think so.
Okay.
And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.